is more lucrative than cryptocurrency?
Yes. If you see very clearly what they say is Nigerian financial institutions should not participate in any crypto activity. And but they didn't stop anybody from participating in crypto activity. Of course, once you have a crypto account which is running on blockchain, nobody can regulate it because it's self-regulating automatically based on the nature and the design of the technology behind blockchain that runs cryptocurrencies. But Nigeria, like taking decision based on policy to stop Nigerian financial institutions from participating in crypto, actually, to the best of my knowledge, makes sense. Because the way the crypto works in Nigeria is not consumerized, meaning it's not going to individual users to be able to participate. Most people ended up going through brokers to be able to do this crypto activity. Most of these brokers are in a dark environment. Nobody knows where they are. They don't have any plain glass where you can view them. There are no really regulatory framework, yet they transact, in some cases, millions of dollars. So how will you allow this kind of people to be able to run in an economy? Another problem, again, that we have is the over-financialization of the economy. It's not good for us at this very moment, even when you look at our Naira balance sheet. It's not good for, if you look at the Naira balance sheet, you see that we have so much Naira into the economy than the gross productivity output. Our debt profile is very high, clearly indicating that we have more money in circulation than the productivity cycle. And at the same time, again, when you look at it very clearly, you will see that we are still printing money to be able to take care of some certain activities in Nigeria. We might print the money and then pump it with the expectation that it will turn out to be a productivity that will come back. But you and I know the way the system is. Maybe half of this is going to go to another financial system where people cannot financialize, people cannot use this finance to inflate many basic things that are supposed to be cheaper for ordinary man. So if we already financialize the Naira, the dollar that we need to import to take care of so many things in Nigeria, which is like almost predominantly import economy, is now also getting financialized. People carrying their monies and then putting it in a dollar environment that is completely on track, unregulated. Like Nigeria now, I think the second or third most traded Bitcoin in the world, $566 million without any productivity is sitting in one place from Nigeria. This to me is not really a very good thing that will encourage the economic growth and third world economy that is even a crawling third world economy. We need more productivity per dollar that gets into the bank, not just the money, because I have an uncle who can give me money. I'll just go to that uncle and collect $50,000 and then plug it into cryptocurrency and then start watching my seasonal movies, just monitoring what is happening. And suddenly I will get maybe $60,000. I have $10,000 for doing nothing. This is not really a very good thing. And I believe central banks taking themselves outside, asking financial institutions to stay off that kind of transaction makes a whole lot of economic sense.
Okay. Are you discrediting cryptocurrency as a whole, or you're saying it doesn't fit into the Nigerian system? Which of the two? Yes.
That's exactly what I'm saying. It doesn't fit into Nigeria at the moment. Cryptocurrency is here. Cryptocurrency must in fact, is the future of currency market. You can see so many international banks, Banks of England, European Central Bank, Bank of Japan, so many Federal Reserve, all of them are putting consideration around cryptocurrency with a view to standardize and also mainstream it. But for now, until all those institutions, especially Bank of International Settlement, gets into the play, it is going to be very premature for Nigeria to dive into something that may end up exhausting our entire dollar that is coming into the country. So that is why I believe our financial system should not allow crypto funds to come into it, because it's capable of offsetting our already overstretched economic environment.
Some would argue that this recent ban on cryptocurrency accounts and all that has to do with the fact that crowdfunding now has become a lot easier. Like in the case of NSAS or in the case of Sunday Igboho now, where you have people who do crowdfunding now through GoFundMe and other platforms. So some will say that it's a way of CBN trying to target these people. What do you say to that?
Because we have a serious mistrust of our government systems or government agencies in Nigeria. Whatever policy that is implemented, the first thing that comes to an ordinary Nigerian is that the government is trying to fight us. And you and I know that the failing one always is found guilty. There is a way you can always find a way to say it is because of X and Y that such and such happened. Of course, when government is taking this kind of decision, there are possibly two implications. In addition to national economic implications, there could be national security implications. You and I know that NSAS protest, although very well organized and the demands very clearly stated, eventually it has turned into something more of an uprising, like an insurrection, to the best of my knowledge, than what it was originally supposed to be. When you look at what happened in Lagos, the destruction that happened in Lagos, you can't say that that was the original mission of NSAS. So now, if these sources of fund keep coming to amplify that kind of insurrection that is capable of destroying the entire law and order in the country, then of course it justifies why that should be done too. Additionally, not just the NSAS protests, even the terrorist organization that we have, the bandits and the Boko Haram, most of these guys now know how to use these cryptocurrencies. If you notice what Boko Haram do, they leverage on this kind of digital technologies to propagate all their messages. They don't go to conventional media houses. So if they can do that and they have some intelligent people among them, and it's a global network, terrorism is not like an isolated happening. It's a global network. And especially when it comes to finance and weapon, these people have collaboration. So the possibility that they keep sustaining their war on the Nigerian state by causing so much havoc in the country through those dark channels that cannot be visible is also there. So if you shut them out of the Nigerian system, I believe it is also a very good thing that will at least stop movement of money, even if it gets to the border. So to move it from another place, you might need to look for another sources other than passing it over our banks. And I'm not saying that bankers in Nigeria are bad, but the truth of the matter is that there are some illicit transactions that still pass through banks, and it still goes and nobody do anything about it, simply because of certain interest that is binding around that particular transaction due to commissions. So all those things, when you look at them, stopping at least this hard currency, especially the dollar inflow, that is what they use to import ammunition and weapons and so to continue to sustain this kind of protest. I think it's a very good thing if you look at it in that kind of light.
So you're saying now that it can curb insecurity. That is, the ban on cryptocurrency accounts can curb insecurity. That's what you're saying.
That's it. At least not curbing it completely. It will at least create some friction to some of their otherwise smooth process that they used to leverage on. So if I want to pass over money from somebody that is sitting in Sambisa forest to somebody that is sitting in one forest in Calabar, for instance, I can be able to use crypto channel, and then it lands in a bank and you cash it over there and then be able to use it. But now it cannot pass over Nigerian banks. So if you are carrying the money, you either carry it as cash or you pass it through crypto and it goes to another country. So that, I believe, is going to not completely curb it, but at least put a blocker to some of their smoother process that they used to leverage.
Okay, so why did you recommend cattle business? Cattle, livestock, animal husbandry. Why not other things? Why?
It's a real business. There is no, let me tell you, among all the animals we have on earth, forget about the fact that I'm a full animal and I have like natural affinity to cow. Among all the animals you see on earth, cow, an individual cow, has one of the most productive economic output you can think of. From the feed you give it, which is also money for other people, to everything in their body, down to the dunks they drop. So imagine if you now perhaps have 2,000 herds of cattle in a given ranch. The quantity of milk you produce, the quantity of hide and skin you produce, the quantity of every other thing associated with that cattle is going to produce is going to give you a huge amount of money. In fact, let me tell you this. We are trying to, in my company, set up a kind of an abattoir business using cow meat. Now, when we do the conceptualization per cow, we find out that it is only the raw meat that we extract from the cow that will pay for the capital investment. Every other thing becomes profit. From the dongs to the chicken, to the tummy sauces that we have like shaki, whatever, to the horns, to the skin, to almost everything, including the fat in the cow that is used in medicinal value, is all profit. So at the end of the day, you may slaughter 150,000 naira cow and ended up harvesting 400,000 naira from that cow. So this is a very big business, and it's real business, because before you can get this 450,000, you may have 2 or 3 labor working on top of it. So I don't see any business that is better than this. 1, it gives job opportunity. 2, it adds directly to the local economy. 3, it stops people from slaughtering cow and throwing it on the street. Now that same cow is giving them money. So considering something called what I call a cryptocurrency, considering that kind of investment, to the best of my knowledge, is the best thing that can happen. So cows are not predominantly only Fulanis. Cow is an animal for all kind of humanity. Any human being can be able to rear them. So if an Igbo man decided to own the cattle ranch, if a Yoruba man decided to own the cattle ranch, if an Efi, a Joe man, or a Calabar man, or Fulani man, or Hausa man, or Chief man decided to own a cattle ranch, he still owns his own cattle, and he will still make his same money, the same money that every other person will make, and it will even help to stop the kind of Fulani encroachment in some other lands that they don't own. You know, so they have to make sure that if I am owning a ranch and you as a Fulani, you want to come into my own area, you also will be encouraged to either own a land or get out from that place, because this area is properly ranched and we are also rearing the cattle. So to the best of my knowledge, this is even going to bring about a complete reconciliation between the problems that we are having if everybody gets into cattle business and then start harvesting their own cryptocurrency. I'm telling you that nobody will begin to see cow as the enemy. The Fulanis must be forced to adapt the setting that other people are doing in their area. They cannot come and encroach. So this will bring about a lot of economic activity and a lot of peace and prosperity for the country.
How will this cryptocurrency work exactly?
It's just basically ranching. The cryptocurrency is still a productivity of Naira. What I call it cryptocurrency because at the end of the day, when you do business, you try to make money. So why I coin it cryptocurrency is that everything around the cow can give you money. So instead of you to carry just dormant cash and dump in one place and wait for like 3 weeks to make double profit, this time around, you are investing in real thing that it keeps you engaged, it keeps your community engaged, it keeps your family engaged, it keeps your bankers engaged, it keeps the customer engaged, and at the end of the day, you still reap money from every activity you do with that cow. There is no currency that is more valuable than that particular commodity, which is a cow.
Well, some will argue with you because, you know, first of all, ranching business is capital intensive. You need a huge expanse of land. You need to have enough cattle to be able to make money in animal husbandry. Whereas the cryptocurrency business is not as difficult, and it's not as you don't have to wait as long. It's not as time consuming as this ranching that the way you're presenting it. Or don't you think so?
That is why we need to run away from it. Why will I make easy money, for God's sake? It's frightful.
But you see how the economy is. Everybody wants to make easy money because, Nigeria has been in economic recession for quite some time. So everybody wants to make quick money as well.
Yes, so, but that quick money is what is technically destroying the country. And if we all put our mindset around quick money, if a Nigerian committed a crime in Malaysia, trust me, almost all the Nigerians that are landing on Malaysia will be first and foremost suspected to be there with intent to do that same crime that one Nigerian who is even in an isolated case committed. So that urge for easy money is what is destroying us. And that is why the problem we have in this country related to joblessness, related to economic stress, have to do with individual Nigerians not committing to do the right thing, not just the government. I'm not trying to absolve the government. I'm also saying that individual Nigerians too have a bigger role to play to be able to fix these problems. We must cultivate a character of investing our sweat to be able to harvest something. That is even the only way you can have value for that money. Even these big politicians that we see them stealing all the monies and doing whatever they do, these monies ended up consuming and destroying them. Because every kind of money that comes through easy channels goes through easy way in a destructive way. So we should always try to avoid this kind of easy way of trying to make money. Of course, I believe if you put money in cryptocurrency, you will reap it. But of course, some people too can tell you they have faced the price. Maybe now that we have Bitcoin and so many other currencies, all of them rising, like almost exponentially every time. People are putting their money and they are harvesting real profitability. To the best of my knowledge, this is a bubble. There is no international bank or international system that can guarantee a return should the bubble burst. And no one today that will guarantee that that bubble cannot burst, because this is a matter of economic activity. And all economy must balance, both the two sides of consumption and production must balance. If you have overconsumption with less production, you and I know the stress that the world is going to. We've seen a lot of crashes in the financial system because of that. So when you look at the financialization of Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies, you keep putting money, but there is no corresponding productivity that absorbs this money. So to the best of my knowledge, it's even very risky, because at the end of the day, you'll have your life saving and you wake up tomorrow and they say that Bitcoin is bankrupt. So what are people going to do? But your account is very close.
But the cow business also comes with its risks. You have anti-ranching, what's it called now? Anti-grazing laws in so many states now.
Yes, most of those anti-grazing laws came about impulsively. There were tensions simply because there was no proper arrangement to fix the problem, so everybody was looking for a quick fix. So the best solution for me as a politician, as a governor, to show my people that I care, is just to draft one law, go to National Assembly, and we pass it. And we think the problem is sorted. It's not solved. The problem is not sorted. It's still there. So we need to find a comprehensive planning in the way we view the cattle business. And if you look at even central bank books, they have published different policies in the way people can access funding for this kind of businesses. So most of the same big people, that have understood the system are the same people that will benefit from the NMPC, that will come back to CBN again and benefit from that kind of monies, simply because we over-sensationalize the situation. We didn't see it as a business value. We see it first and foremost as one ethnic group against the other. And then it shut us completely from the value that you can derive from that business. So you may have anti-grazing law, fine. Grazing, I personally don't support open grazing in the 21st century. To the best of my knowledge, it's a very bad thing to put even a Fulani boy or a girl on the street grazing just at the end of the day for the benefit of maybe 6,000 or 10,000 naira, because we know how much they pay them. Very small amount of money. So you carry families, put them on the street, no school, no education, nothing, and then they keep traversing to different states. At the end of the day, fell into problem with either maybe the harmful animals in the bushes, or maybe get into trouble with some settlers in the area, some landowners in the area or farmers in the area. So these are all not too good. And as I'm talking to you, I believe the Fulanis, the main reason why they do this kind of grazing is because they have no alternative. If you sit with them, they are one of the most understanding, most friendly, and most easygoing people that love the law. Seriously. I'm not talking because I'm a Fulani. I know that Fulanis usually react to action that is done against them. So if you talk to them properly, they will understand it. If you bring them on board, they will come mainstream. If you show them the benefit, they will adopt to it. Most of these counts are not their own. So we need to find a plan to contain this situation as opposed to just to put a blocker to it. Because when you say, I don't want Fulani, I don't want cow, get out from this place, maybe he doesn't understand what is called anti-grazing law. To the best of his knowledge, he doesn't know the boundary between Osun State and Ogun State. He doesn't know these things. He's just moving. And then you now say that there is a law. He doesn't know that law. So when you fight, he fights back. This is the kind of situation that is happening. So there is orientational problem where we need to create deep level awareness. There is also containment problem. We need to find a way to mainstream these people. And one of the biggest mistakes that we do is we quickly rush to call Mieti Allah on board. Mieti Allah organizations, there are so many Mieti Allahs. Mieti Allah organizations are elitist organizations of the Fulanis. They don't represent most of the Fulanis in the bushes and the villages. Those are the guys that we need to reach out to. And I'm talking to you, when you try to reach out to them peacefully, they will listen. We have a lecturer, one Islamic scholar in Kaduna, who decided to go to these bushes in Zamfara and some areas of Birningwari in Kaduna. They listened to him. Simply because
Sheikh Gumi.
Sheikh Gumi, yes, he said, I come in peace. And they listened to him. They told him all their problems. And if you look at the problems, you will be so shocked. Because the same problem we are crying, ordinary citizens, is the same problem they are crying. So it's just a matter of communication gap that needed to be breached, and then we can have a very peaceful country. That is what I believe. Not just by putting everything on paper and say there is a law. The law is supposed to be a consent of the people that you represent. It shouldn't be what you think about. So we have to find a way to make sure that the people that we represent are part of the constitution of the law. Not that we should carry law and enforce it again. That is now becoming like a militarized state where you have a military hangover from top to bottom instead of from bottom to top.
But there have been complaints about the attacks by some of these Fulani headers. You know that even 2 weeks ago, the Sultan of Sokoto said 7 out of every 10 kidnappers now in the bush are Fulani. So don't you think that the fears being nursed by people are genuine?
No, for the Sultan, he didn't say that. And Sultan is the embodiment of the Fulani dynasty in this Western Sahel. So you should know that it is actually true. Now, he is also voicing frustration with the fact that 7 out of 10 of the people that do kidnapping are Fulanis, the people that he himself supposed to be able to have control over. So that means there is a problem in the system. What I see from his statement is not trying to vindicate the narrative in the media that Fulanis are bad. He's also voicing a frustration, the same way I'm also voicing this frustration, that these people do not need bombs and guns. They just need someone to communicate and mainstream them. That's what they need. If Sheikh Gumi could be able to get into these people and snap pictures and do videos, all of them carrying guns, and they didn't slaughter him, they didn't kidnap him, and they confess openly, yes, we are kidnappers, yes, we are the bandits, we are not saying we are not, then it means that a proper channel of communication, a trustworthy channel of communication that they will believe in, when we reach out to them, we will end up solving most of this problem. But
are you saying you should negotiate with people who are carrying guns and threatening private citizens?
Yes, you see, like people will now say we don't negotiate with terrorists. And we know how it ended in Iraq. We know how it ended in Afghanistan. The two main, in fact, the main war on terror started in Afghanistan in 2001. As I'm talking to you now, maybe barring any changes, Taliban is going to be the next president of Afghanistan because of the negotiation that happened over time with the American government and the Taliban, which took place in Qatar. The only way to disarm an ideologically or frustrated person is either to solve that frustration or to neutralize that ideology. So if we continue to say we are going to use guns to be shooting them, we'll just be killing our own young soldiers for nothing, to the best of my knowledge. Because this to me is not fight for the country somehow. It's actually trying to, again, perpetuate the cycle of violence. Why? Because that man is voicing frustration. That's why he's doing what he's doing. Instead of you to bring him on board to understand why he's doing what he's doing, try to mainstream him. If he refuses, then you now confront him. That means the state have cleaned their conscience that this guy willingly wants to be a criminal, and that's why we have to treat him as a criminal. Until we do that, there is always going to be a problem. How long have we been fighting terror in Nigeria? Since 2009. What is the success rate of the war on terror? More terror. We used to fight these people in Maiduguri. From Maiduguri, it spread to the whole of Northeast. From Northeast, it came to North Central. From North Central, now it's in Northwest. From Northwest, now it's going into the bushes in Ogun State, in Oyo State. It's going to different places. Are we really fixing this problem? We are ending up pushing more recruits to these people. So bombs and guns cannot be the only solution, except somebody is properly identified as a criminal. But anybody who is willing to offer his own self for negotiation, I think he deserved to be listened to. He deserved to come on board. If you look at another example in Nigeria, may God rest his soul, when he was alive and the president, he decided to announce an amnesty program in the Niger Delta. When last did we hear any bombing of the pipelines in the country again? This thing was sorted not by sending troops on Operation X, Operation Y, Operation Z, but by simply accepting them for who they are, bringing them and streaming them, showing them a better life than the life they were living in the creeks, and they find more reason why they should belong to the system of governance of Nigeria than to continue to fight. So to the best of my knowledge, we need to look at that kind of approach.
For many will argue that the case or the situation in the Niger Delta is different from the terrorism and banditry you have in most parts of the north now. Boko Haram's case, how do you negotiate with Boko Haram? Or how do you negotiate with bandits who are attacking people? And there are even those who argue also that what's it called now? The inability or the failure of government to bring these people to justice is why they keep getting emboldened. That why not ensure that they are brought to book rather than keep negotiating with them? As you saw in the case of the Kankara boys now, who were, abducted and then released after negotiation.
You are right. If you look at that kind of perspective, it also makes sense. But I can tell you something. After reading all articles and all documentation that I can find on the internet about Boko Haram, including confessional interviews with so many of these people, and then also reading two very comprehensive books written about Boko Haram from François Boulot, French perspective, and Alexander Thornton, the British perspective to Boko Haram crisis, you will see clearly that the root cause of that problem, as much as we don't want to believe it, it has nothing to do with ideology, it's economics. These people are frustrated with the Nigerian state. That's how it started. Why? Because so many things are missing in their immediate environment. No education, no healthcare, no opportunity, nothing. So they felt the country failed them. Then there you have one fairy preacher come and say that the only reason why the country failed you is because this constitution of the state is illegitimate, everything they do is haram, run away from them. Then the people decided to blindly follow him. Why? Simply because they are in economic problem. If you go back to the same herders and farmers crisis that brings about the banditry and kidnapping now, it's still around land economics. Who controls the resources? And where can the resources remain for who? And how can the resources be utilized by who? These are the cases that are not sorted out, which is also economics. The same way when you go to Niger Delta, it's economics. You are taking my oil from my own land, and I'm living in poverty. I can't send my children to school or hospital. I can't even eat good food. In fact, even the fishes that I used to catch, that used to give me some small revenue, is dying. So I have to fight. So Nigeria's problem is purely, most of this uprising is purely economic driven. And once you have a crisis that is driven by economics, if you remove your grandstanding, has the easiest way to solution. It has easiest way, pathway to solution. Even the global world wars that are fought, like let me say maybe First World War and the Second World War, at the end of the day, the discussion around the table bring about the end of the war, and economics bring about the stability. So we have to always look into the economics of the issue as opposed to purely the security issue. Boko Haram is purely economic problem. Most of the members of Boko Haram are people that have given up on Nigerian state. The reason why the war even keeps sustaining is because they find out that when they are Boko Harams, they get better allowance, they get better life, they just don't need to spend to marry, they'll just catch a woman, and then they distribute among themselves. Everything is easier for them. So why do they want to join Nigeria? So that's the only thing that we need to look at. So it has economic implications. Most of these problems are economic triggers. If you listen to what Sheikh Gumi is saying, most of what the bandits are talking about is still economics. They are denied X, they are denied Y, they are denied Z. The politicians betray them. The people they work for betray them. This happens. So they have no option. They just have to improvise. And they decided to begin to do what they are doing. So we need to look into this problem with an economic solution, and the government will have to remove grandstanding, state power, monopoly of violence. We have to drop this thing and try to see how we can mainstream these criminals properly. Not by giving them money. Giving them money itself is empowering them to continue doing what they are doing. You can't neutralize a bandit or a terrorist with money. You will use money to empower him. You can neutralize him by bringing his understanding to the table and show him that he belongs rather than he's an external person that needs to be destroyed. So that's what I believe.
How is it that Sheikh Gumi is able to visit terrorists? I mean, locate them, and the government and security agencies keep saying they cannot find them? How is it that it's so easy for him to
Yes, I believe if the security agencies say they don't know where they are or they cannot find them, they are not altogether honest. But of course, security missions require some level of confidentiality. What is the total size of Nigeria? So you can actually locate them. But the problem is that, can you be able to confront and neutralize them using firepower? That's the question. A security man will go there with his own AK-47s and some tanks and bombs. That's what he wants to use to go there. He has to plan. So to the best of his knowledge, as long as he's not ready to confront them, he didn't see them. But Sheikh Gumi said, no, I come in peace. You can search me. I just want to talk, know what is your problem so that I can tell the public your own plight. That's why they also said, okay, we are lowering our guards. We are allowing you to come. We tell you our frustration, and then we let you go in peace. So that kind of approach, if the government should have cultivated that approach of trying to say we come in peace, let's talk, it would have been easier. But will that going to serve the interests of some politicians or some of their political standing or some of their popularity with their own people? That's also another question. Now, if somebody rise up maybe in the Southwest is calling himself Sunday Igboho, or somebody rise up in the South, not as Southeast is calling himself Nnamdi Kanu, if the same Nnamdi Kanu or Sunday Igboho try to say that, okay, I want to sit and talk to the Fulanis, will he have this popularity? He will not have, because the political narrative will not give him that kind of attention. So politics is at the center of disunity and major crisis that we are facing in this country. And economics is the root cause and the perfect solution to this problem. So until our politicians or leaders begin to look at economic approach to this problem by lowering their guards and approaching everyone at his own level to bring them on board, we will always be having problems.
But it seems that Sunday Igboho's tactics is working, because this is where he went to launch his attacks. Said that those places have become largely peaceful. So don't you think his tactics is actually working?
I didn't get that. I didn't get the last thing.
Sunday Igboho, won't you say that his tactics, the tactic that he's using, is it not actually working? All the places where he has visited, the issue of headers crisis has actually dropped there. So don't you think that his tactics actually working?
Yes, it was a reaction. As I said earlier, he reacted to the event that is happening that is not right. And those events were not right. So he now decided to bring them to the fore and say, what is happening is not supposed to happen. Therefore, we have to stop this. So it has to work. Now, continue to inflame the situation now becomes another topic. But what he did brought it to the fore. Even I myself make a public statement clearly saying that he was right. Every Fulani man going to another land must have to negotiate or buy a land to put his own cattle. The traditional Fulanis that I know, in our tradition, in the court of tradition, the first thing that we do when a Fulani herder gets into the village is to identify the village head of that community, submit allegiance, formally request within the council of that traditional authority permission to keep his herd of cattle in any area they gave him for a certain period of time. If he has area of interest, he will come and table it before the council. Until the council approves, that same Fulani will not stay in that place. That is the basic tradition. But the situation whereby some of the bandits or criminals, I can call them, in the name of Fulanis, getting into other people's land and even fighting them simply because they want to graze on this land or to do something, then it means it's wrong. So what he did worked, but it should not be continuously to be inflamed. We should leave it at that victory and then look at the collective whole as opposed to the parts, within the setting. So what he did was bringing the plight to the fore. It was attended to properly. Governors were involved. All the responsible stakeholders were involved. The issue is getting sorted. So we need to continue the part of this solution as opposed to the fact of inflaming the divisional tendencies again.
Yeah, but if you look at the case of Yewa in Ogun State, the monarchs have even written a petition, to the governor saying that some soldiers escorted headsmen into their community to brutalize them. So it may also seem that there's connivance on the part of state actors, in the part of security forces. I don't know if you're looking at that.
Sincerely, I'm not sure about that. I am not sure a state will support criminals to go and also destroy ordinary peaceful citizens in their communities. Of course, there might be some report regarding that, but I am unsure about it until it is properly proven beyond reasonable doubt. I think I will leave it as maybe some hoodlums also dressed in the military uniform, trying to assist some of the hoodlums, and then they go and do that. After all, everybody can get military uniform today in Nigeria, and AK-47 is becoming very available. So you can just go to any shop, pretend to be a soldier, and then to frighten people, and then you go and do your crime, and everything will now painted of our very brave and heroic Nigerian soldiers. So I really don't want to believe that soldiers, with their professional training and their professional understanding of combat, would simply go and aid criminals and also attacking the ordinary citizens in their own land. I'm not sure about that.
Let me ask you this. In a bid to curb the Boko Haram insurgency,
yes,
some northern governors decided that they're going to ban out the Almajiri system. And you came out and opposed that.
Yes.
Why did you oppose it? Why you don't think that the Almajiri system also promotes terrorism? Given the fact that Shekau, his mother, the mother of the Boko Haram leader, Shekau, said a few years ago that her son was an Almajiri who never returned home. Are you aware of that? And if yes, why do you still support the Almajiri system?
You see, Eniola, like as I told you, based on my whole research on Boko Haram, I know you're also a very good researcher. Most of these researchers usually concluded that Boko Haram has no direct link with Al-Majranchi. Now, this is not at the point of maybe social issues. It's also at the point of ideology. It's ideological. And Al-Majri, in a proper Al-Majri setting, goes to a certain sect of Islam, which is called Tijaniya or Qadiriya.
Mm.
And Boko Haram, with the entire global terror network, belongs to Wahhabism. So there is no Qadiriya or Qadiriya member or Tijaniya member that will ever believe with anything Wahhabis say. Similarly, the Wahhabis, they will never believe in Qadiriya. So that dichotomy is properly defined. Except that Al-Majri decided to jettison his own sect and willfully accepted the sect of Boko Haram. There is no pathway for him within the Al-Majranchi settings to move him to go and become a terrorist in Boko Haram case. There is no pathway because this is a deeply ideological issues. For centuries, they fight each other in the north. Even on a preaching ground, we agree in the north. We know that this mosque belongs to these people and the Izala or Wahhabi movement, while this mosque belongs to Qadiriya or Tijaniya. So no, the person going to this mosque don't go to that mosque, and the person going to that mosque don't go to that mosque. The person that is preaching in that mosque, this person don't listen to him. And sometimes even if they cross preach by countering each other's belief, not agreeing. So it's very unlikely that you have an Almajiri man becoming a Boko Haram. But the current practice of Almajiranchi itself is a failure of the northern governors, which they want to carry it and blame it on innocent Almajiris. You have young people that are born in your state, or maybe in any other state, but they are young people that are also legitimate citizens of the country that are supposed to have good health care, they are supposed to have good education, they are supposed to have good attention or support from the government where necessary. The parents are very poor. So, and the parents believe that one of the things that liberates their children is carrying them and taking them to another place to go and study. As a state governor, you should see this as an opportunity that that boy that will be left in a bush in certain village that has no opportunity now is in the city. So now that he is very close to me in the city where there are available amenities for him to enjoy, why not find a way to bring him into, mainstream him into educational system and then give them a proper healthcare support so that they can grow and become more useful citizens of the society. Meanwhile, that same Almajiranchi setting was a very strong grooming ground for so many big people from the north, including most of the most notable families you see from the north. All of them came from Almajiri. Because Almajiranchi itself has nothing to do with raw study of Islam. It has everything to do with studying, businesses, marketing, relationship, and lifestyle. So if you look at Dangote, our richest man today, his family are Almajiris. In fact, currently, the Dantata family are one of the people that are supporting the largest Almajiri group in Nigeria, which is called Gwanid Anzarga. Gwanid Anzarga. They have what is called Sangaya. So that Gwanid Anzarga have close to almost, they say, 10,000 Almajiri. And Dantata family still supports them.
Are you sure of this?
Go back to Isha Karabiu. This Abdul Samad Isha Karabiu, his father was a notable Almajiri. His family had been traditional Almajiri. In fact, his father was a sheikh in Almajiranchi. Until he dies, he supported Almajiranchi. Up to now, they are supporting Almajiranchi. So they were able to build children that has become icons of global recognition. It means there is value in the Almajiranchi. Again, if you go to Kano market, most of the rich people in Kano market, most of these rich traders are Almajiri. They came through Almajiranchi. They were able to get necessary training in that Almajiri institution, and then they were able to get to where they are. But today's Almajiranchi has been contaminated because the Malams used to take advantage of these innocent children for their sustainability. They send them to go and beg. Sometimes they send them to go and commit crime. Sometimes they get into drug abuse and become big criminals in the society. Why? Because there is no care for them. So my argument was, why don't we also have a budget line for education in every state allocated to Almajiri institutions? So that you say?
Want every state to have a budget for Almajiri?
Not every state, but the state where Sangaya is identified. Like in a state like Kano, where you now have Sangaya, and perhaps maybe you have 1 billion naira monthly budget for Kano, why don't you identify, even if it is 10% of this, to support this Sangaya system? Then through that, you can now negotiate some things. I'm bringing a mathematics and English teacher to you, perhaps even a chemistry and a physics. I'm building 3, 4, 5, 7 classrooms here. I need a dispensary very close to you here. So I'm not stopping you from doing what you are doing, but you also need to go to the formal school. As simple as that. Then you solve the problem. You stop them from begging. The same way you give food to boarding schools, you ask them to give food to boarding to the children. If there's a requirement that students have to come to school,
Are you still with us? Mr. Garba, are you still with us? Oh, it seems Mr. Garba is having network issues. Hopefully, he'll be able to join us again. Are you there,
hello?
Mr. Garba? All right, it's back.
Hello?
Yes.
So the government cannot make the requirement before.
Are you there, Mr. Garba? Are you there? Mr. Garba is having some
You can
network.
bring your child.
Back.
Hello? Sorry,
Yes.
it's my mobile phone that I'm using. Is what people are
Okay.
calling. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So the government can now mandate that if you are bringing your child to Al-Majri school, that child must come with his own food. That child must come with his own baby. Else, it doesn't. You can't do that. But if the government does not bring the teachers, these Al-Majri teachers on board, try to show them, okay, we are supporting you with X. You also must fulfill the requirement for Y. You can't say altogether ban. Because if you ban it, these children can go back to the village and come back to the city as criminals. Because they are not organized in a way where you can identify them. They will just get distributed in motor parks and be committing crime. At the end of the day, we may have a new evolution of city Boko Haram as opposed to the bush Sambisa Boko Haram. And this is a very serious problem. So what the state government do outright banning is a very short-term measure that will boomerang later. So that's why I went against the decision.
Were you ever an Almajiri at any point?
I was an Almajiri. When I was born as a young man, in my family member, my father is an Almajiri man. Although he came from the traditional ruling family in one area in this local government, but he is one of the first person to travel out to come to Yola to do Almajiranchi. There, he married my mom as a student of her father, who was the teacher in the Almajiri school. Then, when I was born, usually at the age of 4, you will begin to study Quran deeply. So there was this decision between the two of them that I have to go to Al-Majri school. So my father said he has to take me to an Al-Majri school completely. I cannot go to normal Western school. My mother said no, she doesn't agree that I have to do Western school, that she has an NYSC member around who can be teaching me. Then they now come to a compromise that I have to go to Al-Majri school for the next 4 years. When I'm 8 years, then I can now be formally enrolled into a normal conventional school. So I passed through the process. But the Al-Majri I passed through the process does not require me to leave my state, does not require me to leave my local government, does not require me to leave even my street. We just go to the next place to study and come back home. We don't go to bed, but we assist Malam in rearing his cattle. We will go to bushes and cut grasses and come and feed the animals. We can fetch water for the Malam. All this is a measure of getting blessing from your teacher. But that does not mean I should go to bed. I will not go to bed. And that does not mean I sleep in his house, except where some cases were required, where I need to cram certain chapter in the Quran. And I know if I go home, I may sleep. So I will decide to stay, cram it so that tomorrow I will avoid beating from the Malam if I didn't do it. Apart from that, nothing. So that is the way we do our Al-Majranchi. And it was very well organized and it works.
Yep.
So after 4 years, I was now, you said?
Well, you allow your children to do it?
Yes, in such a way, I still, in fact, like now my two elder children are doing it, but I have the capacity to make sure that the teacher come and teach them where he's supposed to. So, or the teacher that is within the area. So I used to send them to go there and study up to today. In fact, this Saturday they were there to go and study, and then they come back within the estate where I stay. So they read with this their normal allo, we call it allo. They use the tablet, the hard tablet with wooden tablet. That's what they do, the same way I did my own. Because people memorize and keep the Quran in their brain when they read and write it than when they just read it. That's what I believe. So that's why I continue the tradition. But my son can never go to bake or never go to any of those kind of things to go and do. And I don't believe Al-Majranchi too. If part of the requirement for Al-Majranchi is begging. Begging is completely anti-Islam, based on what I know in Islam. Islam encourages people to work hard to earn, not to go and beg to feed. So if you are even doing begging, it's like you are getting out of the original context of Islam. So that you are on your own, to the best of my knowledge. It has nothing to do with Al-Majranchi. So I agree that we should ban begging, but we should modernize and reform Al-Majranchi.
Okay, well, we're rounding off now. Late last year, you were trending for suing the co-founder of Twitter, that's Jack Dorsey. Yes. And then later on, you withdrew the case. Do you ever regret suing him in the first place? And was it just a publicity stunt?
No, I never regret, and it's never a publicity stunt. These guys, if they are students of global politics and understand the way crisis is being orchestrated in the world, you will see clearly that Jack Dorsey and his people, I don't know who they are, were trying to take advantage of the NSAS protest, justified protest by the Nigerian youths, and inflame crisis to be able to sink us into very big trouble like they did in Libya, like they did in Egypt, like they did in Syria. So the best solution is to block him from doing that, especially when I noticed he began to actively
Are you there, Mr. Garba? Mr. Garba's network.
request people to fund via notice. Hello, sorry, the network
Yes.
again affected it. Somebody called. So especially when I notice he tries to do it to sustain the protest. And I understand the way these people work. If you mistakenly say you're going to pass through information warfare and encounter him and insult him and fight, you will never succeed. They will bring the entire government and put the country into trouble. They will do it. And if you again mistakenly say you're going to go through fighting or attacking them, you still not win. The only thing that global actors are afraid of is the courts. The only thing they're afraid of is the courts. Once you hang a case on their neck, they know that if somebody in the company where he works don't like him, all they need is just to maybe allow New York Times or Wall Street Journal to interview me and then amplify it on CNN. And trust me, they will ask him to step aside pending that case is determined. So he knows that court case does not stop. So the best solution is for him to quickly withdraw. Since that court case, court summon was served to him on Twitter, he never tweeted for soliciting for funding again. That is a very big plus for us. Then eventually, when this crisis happened in the US, you have capital insurrection. You have the same Jack Dorsey who was busy verifying users that are destroying Nigerian properties and Nigerian institutions, who was the same Jack Dorsey that was suspending people that are insurrecting into US Capitol, meaning he cares and values his own country, but he doesn't care if our country is destroyed. So that time I was visibly vindicated. So many people came online apologizing to me openly that they misunderstood what I was doing before. Now they can see Jack's hypocrisy very clearly. They are sorry. I now said, in this case, since everybody understood what I was trying to do then I believe we can withdraw the case and watch him again. If he come again and try to do that, then next time we go to International Criminal Court and go and sue him, or maybe our ECOWAS court. That's what we do. Any one of them. We will not fight you with guns. We will not fight you with weapons. We will not try to use information warfare on you, but we will go to court and sue you. We will have evidence, to go against you. So that's exactly why I do it. So I have no regret. I think we fought for the country and we're able to push the enemies that want to put us in trouble away. Lagos became safe. Abuja became safe. The entire country became safe. And again, Nigerian police are trying to organize themselves. And the protest now emerges some responsible citizens to be leaders of tomorrow. And everything now is working to the best of my knowledge. And I believe it is a very, very good move. And I'm very proud of it.
You're happy with how the NSAS protest actually ended? Are you happy with the way it actually ended?
The thing is, I was a supporter of NSAS, seriously. But at the end of the game, some people that are not even part of NSAS decided to take it over to serve the interests of Jack Dorsey and his other international interests. So that is where we now fell in the entire agenda to achieve what we achieved. But we have achieved something. 5 of 5 is being implemented. One of the biggest
is the 5 for 5 being implemented? Have the police actually changed?
Yes, so it's a process. Change does not just happen immediately. You and I know that this is institutional change. Sometimes you may even transfer a policeman that is in Surulere, Lagos, from the center Abuja, but before the signal gets to him, it's 2 weeks. So we have this kind of serious chain of bureaucracy that may delay the process, but it's on process. The issue that NSAS have is that there was no leadership. and there was no committee to be able to push through these things and ensure proper implementation. We just voiced something mostly emotionally without strategy. And when we went there and they said, okay, we've listened to you, we completely withdrew. So there's supposed to be a committee monitoring the progress of this implementation. That was supposed to be what should be achieved. And that committee will remain with the police committee charged with the implementation until everything is done. But we decided to sit our very hard-earned effort to just do it. And that is actually where the mistake is. So it's not good for us next time when we try to talk about Nigeria's problem to go with emotions. We have to be strategic. We have to have organization. We have to have plan. We have to have also responsible representation. That is the only way we can succeed properly.
Lastly, I'd like to end with the question of cryptocurrency. You know that Elon Musk recently came out to endorse Bitcoin.
Yes.
And I mean, due to his status, what he says carries a lot of weight.
Yes.
Do you think he was wrong to have done what he did? Do you think that he was not knowledgeable about it?
To the best of my knowledge, Elon Musk represents a signal to his brand. And whenever he goes to public market, he's trying to raise money. I'm not sure if you know that this company is still not profitable. He's still trying to. So most of the things he do is just for the convenience of the moment. Now, today, again, he published and he's talking about one currency to the moon or currency to say, he is now saying which way, like which of the currencies are we going with, the future of cryptocurrency. And there was no Bitcoin mentioned. So that means that euphoria has gone. Now he's entering into another euphoria stage. So Elon Musk should not be somebody that we can just tag as a consistent person when it comes to things that have to do with all this technology, because everything he's doing is around Tesla and his SpaceX. So as long as if he can publish today to rise the stock of SpaceX today, for the moment now, if something comes again tomorrow, you catch it and do that, you continue to do that. But that is not an endorsement. Bank of International Settlement, European Central Bank, Bank of Japan, Bank of England, and then the Federal Reserve. These banks, first, we need them to endorse Bitcoin. Then we now know that they're in serious business. Else, it's still a very good thing. It could be also a Ponzi scheme.
Thank you very much for joining us in this live Facebook podcast. We've been chatting with Mr. Adam Garba. He's an IT expert and also a former presidential candidate, a presidential aspirant on the platform of the All Progressives Congress. Thank you for joining us at very short notice. Enjoy your day.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.